Today's show is brought to you by kegconnection.com. Join the free Brewers Club Rewards program at kegconnection.com and start earning and spending points with every purchase. You'll also earn status perks, which allows you to receive bonus points and free gifts from kegconnection.com. Go to kegconnection.com right now, use the promo code HHH, and you'll receive 5% off your order. That's kegconnection.com, promo code HHH.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hey, welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question that you'd like discussed on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing, and today I am joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com, Todd Burns. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
I like it again, taking turns, having to see who's going to say what and when. There was some feedback left that I need to. It was someone I know, and they're just poking fun at me and how I enunciate. So if I oversaid kegconnection.com, I apologize. But I like to, when people, especially people that I know, and I say know, like through Instagram, through Twitter, through Facebook. These aren't people I've met. Actually, no, I haven't met this person in real life yet. But whenever people give me any sort of compliment or feedback or a hard time, I like to try to make it awkward as the only way I know how. But anyways, this is a wonderfully cold end of January, which leads me to the obvious first segue of the last show of the month, of the dry month for one of us, is Mr. Todd Burns. You have successfully completed your goal or your pledge of dry January. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Kind of, yeah.
Yes, that's right, kind of. I don't have a bone to pick with you because I had a blast. I was up there at headquarters Monday of this week, and I think you got nervous because the second we got to your property and I put my stuff up, I made a beeline straight to the kegerator where the ESB has been aging lovely, beautifully. It is ridiculous. And so you broke your fast just for that day. You were dry ever since, but we shared an ESB together. And I don't know what else we didn't share together. Honestly, like we didn't go crazy, but I will say you have to admit that ESB is damn near perfection at this point.
It is really, really good. In fact, I had James come over and James tried it.
Oh yeah.
When he stopped by, and he went on and on and on about it. He's like, we should enter that in a contest. And I went, oh well, yeah, we got plenty left. We'll bottle some. And then I went and picked the keg up, and I noticed that you were very much drinking that more than anything else.
Oops.
We don't have enough to bottle anymore.
Yeah, it's like when you pick it up and it does that, you can't get a bottle's worth.
Exactly.
I would like to apologize, but it wouldn't be sincere. That night, we shared an ESB was the first drink back for him. We cheered and all that, and then he's like, well, what am I going to have next? And I said, I think I'm going to have another ESB. And to be fair, I was drinking it, and I forget, Kolsch glasses are bigger by, pardon me, alt glasses are bigger by volume than Kolsch glasses, right? They're the average glass.
I thought they were about the same size. Just one was taller and skinnier, and the other one was shorter and fatter.
Yeah, and they serve them in two different things. So some bars serve 0.2, some bars serve 0.25, and some bars serve 0.4, I believe. I mean, it really, and I say bars, there's some you can get both sizes. So I don't know that, I think that they all those sizes are kind of hit in both styles.
What are your alt glasses is the question I should have asked. They're 2s, right? They're 0.2s?
I have some 0.2s, I have some 0.4s, and I have some 0.25s.
Okay, this is either 0.2 or 0.25, which is give or take about 8 fluid ounces, give or take.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I didn't say how many glasses at 8 ounces I was drinking, but I was drinking in 8 ounces at a time, guys.
Well, they were only 8-ounce glasses.
Yeah, don't judge me. But yeah, like James could attest to, and I'm sorry I didn't leave you more. It was amazing. That is,
it was very good. I have to say that I told Todd that was one of the best craft beers I've had in a long time. It was impressive. It was clear. It had the right taste, smell, character. It was across the board. Probably one of the best one of the best homebrew beers I've had.
I agree.
I was very impressed.
And I always like to make sure that I'm not disillusioned because of circumstances. Like when I am part of the brew process, like literally doing the brew day, those beers seem to taste better to me. And but like I was only filming you guys. This is the ESB for context to those who are completely new to the show. We had a brew day 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago now. And it was on a new cooler brew system that you can find out at coolerbrew.com. We did a whole video on it on the brew day, showing how easy it is doing the traditional mash tun cooler, hot liquor tank cooler, and then we used a 15-gallon Amstel kettle for the boil and for the sparging, for heating up the sparge water. We did this video, and he made an ESB, and I don't even remember why. Why did we do an ESB? Was it because of the season?
Well, I guess it was just something different that, we've done everything. We've done the alt beer and the Kolsch to death, And
I love ESBs. It's one of my favorite styles of all time. So.
Okay, I wasn't part of the process of picking the recipe, but you did well. I mean, I've had your ESB before. I did the mini mash version of it with my dad. My dad's not a fan of the style, period. So I knew when we was time to keg, I knew I was going to enjoy the keg a lot more, which I'm okay with. Like I'm fine. Sometimes I buy the breakfast cereal I like, whether my kids like it or not. I'm selfish, but I definitely knew I was going to enjoy it. But the one that was at Todd's kegerator over the last month and a half or so I agree with you, James. It is legitimately one of the best homebrewed beers I've ever. I almost do wish I didn't drink it all, so we could have bottled it because it would have won. I mean, it would win a category.
I've got a keg that winter warmer. I have 10 gallons of it. I've been letting it kind of age and get better during this month, but gosh, I'm gonna need to get into that tomorrow night, so I better get a keg tonight, huh?
Yeah, we'll get you 2 sanitized, ready to go.
There you go.
That winter warmer I'm looking forward to that being my new love for my trips up there. I was talking about the cooler brew, and which was a segue because I did want to mention my pop and I have not had our first brew day. We're talking about doing it in late February, and I don't have a complete I haven't decided what style we want to brew. He kind of said
late February.
Yeah, late just because.
Why don't you just brew? I mean, just brew this weekend.
Oh, we're busy this weekend.
Brew.
Golly, you're bossy. This week we can't do it this weekend, and he didn't. I asked him last time if he thought we'd brew within the next 2 weeks because that's the frequency I come up to headquarters and I could bring a recipe back. He goes, "No, probably not. Just do it the next time you're up there." That's why I say late February. I know. Because of how much I've enjoyed that ESB, that's what I wanted to bring back. When I asked you off air, James, before you had any context, I was like, what should we brew first? And immediately you like, ESB. Do the ESB.
Yeah,
that's what made sense.
Yeah.
Knowing my pop, and he doesn't like that style, what is a recipe that is pretty straightforward for our first time?
What does he like? I mean, what style does he like?
He mentioned an IPA or a stout. Now, are those
either one of those is difficult? Yeah,
I was going to ask: are there for your first time on a cooler based brewing system? Are either one of those considered particularly difficult? I'm doing air quotes.
No,
neither
they're both
one.
easy beers.
I would probably say probably a stout would be a little easier to brew than the IPA because you don't have the multiple hop additions.
I would. I know. For when we're doing extracts like that, we just did a melt stout and that turned out phenomenal. And I'd almost love to see if we could replicate the same, like I've not had the opportunity. I don't even think we've done it up there at headquarters to do an extract version of the same recipe and the all grain and compare them. Have you ever done those with any of your recipes?
Oh yeah, remember we did that with the alt beer and we did that with the Kolsch. In fact, the last time we did it with the Kolsch, we had both on tap. We had the true to style extract and we had the true to style all grain. And my buddy Trent Peterson, him and his wife came over on a Friday, and I showed him how to brew the kit. So they brewed an extract kit, and then he just fell in love with it and went hog wild. Ordered a Grainfather and ordered a stainless steel kegerator. So we had, when that beer was ready to keg, we kegged it. And that same day, I kegged some true to style Kolsch all grain. So we had two to compare with, and it was crazy how alike they were.
I don't remember if I was up there for that. I know the people you're talking about because I do remember you teaching them how to brew, and then the bug bit them, and it bit them hard, and they went head first into the world of homebrew.
I think he's working on his 7th or 8th kit now.
No way, because that was only like 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
He loves that. He's one of the first people that I know of that went straight to all grain.
Dude, good.
He loves the Grainfather. He thinks that is just the bee's knees.
And I know I've never run into someone who owns a Grainfather that said anything different, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, they're great. I just, the only reason I don't brew on one more is I just want to brew more than 5 gallons. I mean, if I'm going to spend the time and the energy to brew, I want to get more beer out of it and share it and maybe flop, trade with somebody else or,
that's a good point. Very good point. That's the cool thing about the cooler brew system is you can do a 10-gallon batch on most recipes.
And it's fast and easy to do.
And James,
although we did have a customer recently that I believe you said that was having some difficulty, had just received it, and we've kind of been struggling on what else to do as far as instructions, because we did the video, which the first time I brewed, I didn't have the video because we made it after that. So I would just kind of learn how to do it by talking to people. I just don't know what else we would need to do. Maybe it's something something listeners can
let me give context, because you were kind of going around there. A person just wrote in, and they are completely brand new to brewing, and they got the cooler brew, but they are like their concern was that they were a little intimidated because it didn't come with like instructions of what the purpose of each vessel is. I'm kind of reading into it, but what I gathered, knowing what gets sent out with them, is that it didn't have a complete like kind of instructional, like here's what this is for, and you use it for this. I will say what I wrote back is that specifically on homebrewsupply.com and kegerator.com, recipes do a fantastic job of holding your hand, as long as you have an understanding of what each vessel is, which, the mash tun's the one that has the false bottom in it. The one that doesn't have a false bottom would be your hot liquor tank, and then you'd have your own kettle for doing the other things. The recipes that James has written for kegerator.com and the recipes that are on homebrewsupply.com from Lorena and from previous brewers, from Joe, a lot of those are Joe's recipes, include very good holding your hand step by step for the brew day. So if you don't know how to use your equipment, a cooler brewing type system, I'm confident, having used only these recipes, that you will be able to figure it out based on the instructions per your recipe. Would you agree, James?
Yeah, I would just I would add this point is get on YouTube and do a little research. I know when I first started getting in it, there was very little information out there. And I just had to do some homework and figure out why are we soaking the grains, and what happens when you add a certain temperature water, and how long length of time. And, a lot of that stuff's really difficult to put in the equipment because there's just so much to learn.
And there's so many different ways to do it, too.
Yeah. And I would also say this, and Todd, I think you can agree with me on this. Once you get into a rhythm of brewing beer, you're going to form your own way to brew, and to find that way takes a little bit of homework, not too much, but those are the kind of things that if we tried to put all that into one pamphlet with the equipment, then we would have another person say, well, that's not really the best way to do that.
Yeah.
With
the video, Josh, I think My understanding or my thought on the whole process was that somebody would go to the website, they would see the video was there with the product, they would watch the video, they would order the product, and then it would all make sense. But maybe he didn't watch the video. Maybe we need to put a little flyer in there that says, "Hey, be sure and watch this video on this piece of equipment." I mean, I don't know what else you could do besides that.
And maybe your flyer could include one of those high-tech QR codes that you're so in love with, right?
Yeah, we definitely. I mean, I don't think that I needed to say that we were going to have a QR code on there.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of an inside joke. Todd Burns would put QR codes on top of QR codes to direct to QR codes. He is in love with QR codes.
I do like them.
I agree. I was going to say, I forget the name. I was going to do a quick Google search, but my mechanical keyboard's so loud it would give it away. At some point, we might just include a copy of How to Brew from Palmer. Isn't that John Palmer's book, How to Brew? Like at some point, we'll just throw that in the package. But kidding aside,
I think even that would be overwhelming. I think the video really takes you through the process and would make it very simple. I think the video is the way to do it, because written instructions, people have difficulty following written instructions sometimes if there's not photographs, but with a video, I mean, it just walks you right through it. I think that's the way to use it.
I agree. We will definitely create something, and by we, I mean I will, and I will send it out to the man who wrote in. Plus, we'll just include it in all the cooler brews that sell, because it really is a neat system. And I will definitely document on our Instagram, which is Instagram.com/homebrew happy hour, the first brew day my dad and I do it. I'm thinking about doing a live stream on Instagram TV, just because I have the equipment to, and I think that would be interesting content to watch me and my dad, a couple of schlubs on our own, doing our first all grain brew. But anyway, I do have a couple of questions for us, believe it or not, for today's show. So I'm going to jump right into it. The first one came from William using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. William wrote, "Hey guys, keep up the good work. I've been doing all grain BIAB, which stands for brew in a bag, for a little over a year now, and I noticed that I never hit my target OG, meaning gravity, original gravity. Since then, I've been doing 90-minute mashes, and that has seemed to help a lot. I'm now hitting my OG, or it's a few points over. I have read online where extended mash times can give you off flavors. Is this true, and how can I hit my OG with a 60-minute mash? P.S. I'm double crushing at my local homebrew supply shop. Thanks in advance." I think it's worth mentioning here. Let's hit the last part first. James, what does the way that you mill your grain affect your numbers during the brew day, if you're doing any various type of brew process?
It can, because you definitely want to get your grains crushed every piece. And then, the more starch exposed to the warm water, the more the enzymes can break that down into sugars. Now, I've been told, I've never brewed in a bag like they are nowadays, but
right.
I've always read and was told that you want to double crush if you're going to do a BIB setup.
I've always heard that too, yeah.
As far as mash times affecting taste, I've never run into that. And I've done mash times as long as 2 hours. So I think 2 hours is max, but there's people I've talked to that do all night, 20, they'll set the mash and go to bed. And then they'll do the mash the next morning. Don't have any problem with it. So I wouldn't be afraid of it if it's working for you. I would say this, whatever software you're using, you might want to, if you're not hitting your gravity, this is what I do. Who knows why sometimes you can have the same grain amounts, the same temperature, the same machine, and not hit your gravity. And who knows why that happens, but I always tweak my efficiency. I use Beersmith. So in Beersmith, you can actually dial down the efficiency to where what you hit. So if I'm trying to hit 10, like this last batch, I was trying to hit 1050 and I hit 1047. I've been doing the same kit for quite a while, and I can't explain. I used the same 150 mash temp, did the same 168 mash out, 170 sparge. Still, I didn't come up with the same gravity. So I adjusted the efficiency down to where I hit it on gravity, and then I keep a record of it. So,
and basically the simple way to explain that too would be just what you're doing is if you have lower efficiency and you're not hitting it, you just need more grain. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, right, James? You have to.
You can
gotta,
tweak your grain
have to
bill.
increase the amount of grain to. If you just consistently every time on that system don't hit your original gravity, you probably need a little bit more grain in that recipe.
Yep.
Or you actually, what you really need is a cooler brew system, because
Yeah,
we always hit our gravity in that
Yeah.
thing, right? Well, we've
That's
only
right.
used it 5 times, but all 5 times we've been over what we expected to hit, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cooler Brew.
It is a cool machine.
I know it is, and I hate that. I hate sometimes when I come across infomercially. That's why I'm dedicated to providing a lot of content on this upcoming brew day, because I want it. When I was filming you guys doing the Cooler Brew, I've been around cooling, systems or igloo style cooler brew days. And it's been a while. It's been a long while since the company was in San Marcos, but I forgot just how fun that kind of brewing is. And I think James,
Yeah.
I think I just stole exactly everything you said about it. Where it's like I don't know if you got hit with nostalgia during that brew day.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
It is a cool thing, and I can't say I've never had great efficiency, or the brew days I've been a part of have not had great efficiency on other cooler based systems. But I know the little knowledge I have was like, oh wow, like it held its temperature ridiculously well. It hit its numbers ridiculously well, and just seeing the excitement on y'all's face during that, I was like, oh, that must not be normal for this.
Well, and I think we get excited about whatever we brew on. So,
Yeah.
we've been brewing on that lately, so we just get a real kick out of how well it works. But we also on our three-tier system, or not 3-tier, but on the 15-gallon system that we have,
The spike, yeah.
and we're building one. Basically, the reason I wasn't saying spike is because the one we're building right now is not spike.
Oh, pardon me. You're right. Yeah.
I'm going to be super excited about that one when I start brewing on it as well, right, James?
Oh, I'm going to be right there.
Well,
and we were super excited about brewing on the Grainfather when we were brewing a lot on that. So a lot of it has to do with just what we're doing right now. It's fun to try different systems and see what the advantages and because all of them have advantages, but all of them have disadvantages as well. I mean, there's some things that one system does better than the other. Even something as simple as the Cooler Brew does some things maybe a little bit better than some of the fancier systems that we've used,
Right. And it's funny because a listener, after we did that brew day video and I posted it, a listener pinged me on Instagram, messaged me. Pinged me as old school talk friends for messaged. They messaged me on Instagram and said that it was cool to see how excited y'all were during that brew day, because when we did a spike video, like whenever we got that, which was over a year ago now, right?
Yeah.
They're like, it's a lot easier to spend the money on the Cooler Brew type thing,
right?
than it was on that. I don't want to put a number.
System's nice, but it's expensive.
Yeah, I didn't want to put a number out there, but it has. They say that part of their marketing is buy once, cry once, and it's true.
Yeah, that's a good slogan.
And it's true. Ben, Kaya, you're doing good things at Spike. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, William, for submitting the question. Reminder, because I do reach out offline before this even publishes, when we take your question on the show, we give you a gift card for kegconnection.com or whoever is sponsoring the show for that week. So, William, thank you for submitting the question. Moving on to our last question of the show from Chris B., who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Chris wrote in, hey guys, I have a question about using DME, which is dry malt extract. I've brewed using extract with steeping grains. After a few batches, I found that I prefer using all DME instead of LME, which is liquid malt extract. I heard a tip that DME will dissolve into cool, cold water easier than hot water. But of all the recipes I have come across, all call to either add it to the beginning of the boil or at flame out. Would you foresee any issues with adding the DME to the water prior to heating? Is there an issue I would run into with steeping the grains? Other than that, I can't think of any reason not to try it. Thanks, Chris. I know because I've only done James Carlson patented recipes that I don't put it in until after it's been heat up. We have to get it up to a certain temperature, the water that is, and then we pour in the DME after we've already steeped the grains.
Sure.
Is this total experimentation? Have you ever heard of this approach Chris is talking about?
I never have. I always assumed that the warmer water would help it dissolve quicker. So I have honestly never even tried it.
And I've never not had it dissolve well. I mean, I think if you just plumped it, just dumped it all in there at once, maybe you'd have a problem. But if you're letting a little bit at a time and you're stirring, I've never had a problem with it not dissolving. Now, having said that, I certainly think if you wanted to dissolve it in cold water and then you're going to bring it to the boil and go through the boil process, it's not going to hurt anything.
No, I don't hurt anything at all.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
It's only after the boil where things happen. So,
well, and that's what I was about to ask, James, because you've told me. I mean, I go off of the things you tell me. Because any given brew day, I have to admit a little bit of Josh Stubing trivia here. James receives no less than 3 phone calls or 10 text messages on my brew days with my dad. And he, God bless him for not ever saying, "Josh, you have the instructions that I wrote in front of you."
Never say that.
I know you don't because you're too nice.
I just dig the fact that you're brewing.
I know.
I think that's cool.
Hey, but is there anything that Chris that you can think of that he might expect by doing it cold, or is it going to probably yield the same thing? It's just going to, when he's steeping, he might be, going into just a different consistency.
I can tell you one thing immediately that might benefit from putting it in when it's cold is all that steam won't collect around the end of the bag and clump up the DME when it's pouring out. So, I'd tell you, try it. If it works, go for it.
That's
as far as
good
steeping,
point.
I don't think it's going to hurt anything. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. Maybe, it's going to be a little thicker, but I don't think that would matter. Do you, James?
No, absolutely not. That's actually a great idea. We may have to try that one day.
I was going to say we have had ideas for experiments before, and this would be very much an easy one to do. Because you have people there at headquarters that do extract brewing, and it's not like you are opposed to doing an extract or a partial mash batch. Again, brewing is brewing.
Sure.
And that'll get, as new people there, as you get them into brewing, just say that you're bringing them in. And for that, like, we could do the experiment while we're also teaching some of the employees how to brew. Win, 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 win.
True.
I'm a problem solver, guys.
It's all good. It's the end result. At the end of the day, we just want to make good beer.
We do.
How you go about making good beer, and we've all said this many times, it's up to you. You create your own way of making it, and if you're successful at it, keep doing it the way you're doing it. Everybody's got 1,000 different opinions on how we should do certain things, and I think that's why one of the reasons why some people are kind of cautious about getting into home brewing is they hear somebody like me and they're like, that's a bunch of gobbledygook. I'll never learn all that. And then you get and have somebody like Todd talk to him about it, and he can give layman's terms and break it down to something more simple than me, where it sounds like I'm trying to talk over their head. Look how smart I am. But I think in the end of the day, it's not that bad. It's easy to do. It's fun, and it's rewarding. Most important. It's very rewarding. It
is a rewarding hobby for sure. I want to add one more fork before we end this question and wrap up the show. Either one of you, Todd, we'll start with you. When you were doing extract brewing, or when you do extract brewing, do you have a preference of DME or LME? I've used kits that do both, and I honestly have always just used what is given to me. I've never even stopped to think which one I prefer. It seems that DME, I've had to control boil overs from happening more with DME. I don't know if that's just placebo effect or I've just observed it. Then LME seems to go into the water a little bit easier for me. But do you have a preference of LME versus DME, and why?
If it's available, I do. I used to use LME I used to always use the liquid malt extract. I find now that I use the dry malt extract a lot more, but it's really just because it's convenient. It's easier to ship. It's convenient it's not all sticky, and I don't know. I don't really care. I mean, I could use either one. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't have a strong preference at all.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I would agree with Todd. From a keg connection standpoint, homebrew supply standpoint, DME is a lot more easier to maintain than liquid. It'll store longer. You can freeze it. It's It's easier to use.
Yeah, you're talking about a lot more weight and a lot more. You're basically shipping water or transporting water when you have LME. So the obvious advantage to DME is just the weight and the amount of space it takes up.
It is a funny, like you were saying with the brew systems, it is a funny trade-off with anything. With DME, it does store longer, I've noticed, for our brew days. The coagulation that occurs is the only pet peeve I have, but that's because I'm too slow in getting it out of the bag, and I'm holding the bag a little too close.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
Very.
It'll almost close the bag up because of the...
Exactly. And then I don't want to, I don't use my fingers to like scrape it out or whatever, but I just feel like, oh, I got to get it all out of this bag. Oh my God.
Well, just dip the bag in the water and it'll eventually dissolve into the liquid.
Genius. Of all the things I've never considered, I'm like, I'm going to sterilize my fingers and then I'm going to, yeah.
It'll have to be sterile because you're boiling for an hour afterwards.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to edit that part out because I just... I look silly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you look like an idiot. I apologize.
No, my purple Disney shirt did that already, didn't it?
I wasn't going to say. Can you put your camera so they can see the whole thing?
Yeah, let me stand up a little bit for people watching our show. This is
nice.
So Todd and I have a legitimate love. It's not just me, it's my family, my wife and my children. We go to Disney World as frequently as we can. It's been too long because I've been working for the man. But Todd, when I used to go more frequently and I'd come back with these shirts on, he'd always give me crap like, oh my God, how many Disney shirts do you own? And I would answer very literally, I have 27. I have 27 Disney shirts, Todd. Thank you for asking. And I bring them. I used to bring them all the time up there. I stopped because I became an adult at some point. But I figured today.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some really manly ones too. Let me tell you.
Yeah. I figured this is my celebratory shirt for you getting through dry January, you big jerk.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Guys, Chris, thank you for writing in to the show, submitting your question. Again, everybody, I thank you for joining us for the end of the month show for celebrating Todd's dry January. I'm going to add an applause, a little effect there.
Thank you.
Mr. James Carlson, Mr. Todd Burns, thank you so much, guys, for joining me for another episode of the show.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and use the submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, homebrewsupply.com. Oh, pardon me, kegconnection.com for supporting our podcast and the homebrewing community. Go to kegconnection.com, use the promo code HHH, and you'll receive 5% off your order. Kegconnection.com, promo code HHH. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.